Welcome to this week's edition of New York Now. I'm Dan Clark. So two big things happened in New York this week. The first and probably most important is that there are now more than 5,000 people hospitalized with COVID-19 in New York for the first time since late May. That's more than 10 times the number of people hospitalized at the start of September. But second, we now know more about how the state plans to distribute the COVID-19 vaccine. Governor Cuomo said this week that it could be just a few days before the first round of vaccines comes to New York, and those first vaccines will go to nursing homes and healthcare workers, especially those considered to be most at risk of contracting the coronavirus.
The first shipment is allocated on the base of number of healthcare workers and nursing home residents in the state. The first allocation is for nursing home residents, nursing home staff, and high-risk healthcare workers. So that's how we're allocating what Buffalo gets versus Monroe versus Essex versus New York City.
And we also got some huge news this week on how the state plans to combat climate change, just in a different way. Controller Tom DiNapoli says the state will no longer invest its public retirement fund in companies that aren't preparing for a more sustainable future. Marie French covers energy and the environment for Politico New York. She's with me in studio. Marie, thanks so much.
Thank you, Dan. Lovely to be here.
So before we get to the controller's announcement, I want to just clarify on vaccines, because while the FDA may approve it very time soon, we're taping on Friday, of course, we don't really know when the first needle is going to go in the arm in New York, right?
Yeah, it's a little unclear. I mean, the governor said that the vaccine would be shipping sometime this weekend and go to some cold storage sites to get to hospital workers, and also to be distributed at pharmacies to nursing home residents and staff. But it's not really clear, when everything sort of gets rolling.
So we'll see. I'm sure there will be something very public about the first vaccination in New York State that everybody will know about and will report on our website. Let's turn to the controller's announcement, because I think this is huge. It's a huge win for environmental advocates specifically. So the way that it's been framed is, which I should say, the Public Retirement Fund is the third largest in the country. This is a lot of money. We invest it in stocks. This is how it works. So he's saying that it's going to be net zero carbon emissions by 2040 is our investment portfolio. What does that mean exactly? Because I thought it meant divesting from fossil fuel companies, but maybe not. So give me the details.
Yeah, so this is a really significant, as you said, a significant announcement, because New York's pension fund is the third largest in the United States, and the 2040 net zero target is the earliest of any major fund in North America. So that goal essentially means that you go through your entire portfolio, you look at every company, and you try to match everything up to be at net zero greenhouse gas emissions, which is a big ask. I mean, you think about everything we do every day, and it consumes fossil fuels and it creates carbon emissions. So it's going to be a really major shift. And the comptroller has laid out a pathway to get there by reviewing various investments along the way.
So we don't really know what it means. So they're going to have standards for evaluating these companies that the state invests in, and they haven't developed those standards yet, right? So when I'm looking at these companies, so it doesn't mean that the state's going to look at something like ExxonMobil and say, we're not giving them our money for the investment. It just means that we're looking at companies that are going to be net zero?
So there is a review process as part of this. The comptroller sort of expanded his ongoing review, which had already started. He had started with coal companies, because those are obviously fairly significant emitters, and coal is a pretty bad fuel for the environment. And had divested from most of those companies. And the way he's doing it, and has said he's doing it, is to, engage with the companies, say like, well, what's your plan to transition, to comply with the Paris Accords and to get to, now the goal will be net zero by 2040. So he's doing that in sort of different stages right now. He's looking at tar sands, and as part of this announcement this week, he sort of laid out a more, within 5 years, we're going to be looking at shale gas companies. We're going to be looking at the companies that service them. We're going to be looking at the oil majors, ExxonMobil, and the mid-size gas extraction companies and then eventually get all the way down to like the pipeline and storage companies.
So we'll know more, I guess, is over the next few years as the comptroller really starts this process. And I think for environmental advocates, it'll be really, they're going to watch really closely to see what happens in terms of, is the comptroller meeting this goal that he is going to hopefully get to by 2040? So we'll be watching. Marie French from Politico, thank you so much for being here.